From Cafeteria Shame to Sneaker Mogul, my ultimate revenge story. Now I own a sneaker empire. Desperate for sponsorship. You're still wearing those cheap shoes? Yeah, they paid for my mansion. If you want to know the exact moment I decided to ruin Jason Carter's life, buckle up because this is where it all began. It was a Tuesday, unremarkable save for the defining moment it would become. I was sitting alone at my usual table, desperately trying to ignore the whispers and snickers that always seemed to swirl around me like a malevolent fog. My sneakers, once white, were now a faded, peeling mess, a testament to their age and the fact that they were the only ones I had. Then Jason Carter, the golden boy of our school, the epitome of rich daddy's perfect son, had to open his mouth. Sophia, still wearing those busted-ass Payless shoes. His voice sliced through the cafeteria din, loud enough for everyone to hear, to relish in my misery. I kept my head down, my mother's mantra "ignore people like that" echoing in my ears. But Jason, fueled by the rapturous attention, wasn't done. His Nike Air Jordans, spotless and practically glowing under the fluorescent lights, began a slow, deliberate orbit around my table, like a predator circling its prey. You know, I bet if you saved your lunch money instead of eating. A knot twisted in my stomach. I wanted to disappear, to melt into the linoleum floor. Then, as if humiliating me wasn't enough, he delivered the final blow. Maybe, just maybe, you could afford something decent, Sophia. The cafeteria fell deathly silent. My face burned, my fists clenched so tight my nails bit into my palms. Jason just stood there, smug and expectant, waiting for me to do something, anything, waiting for me to break. I didn't. I just looked at him, a cold, simmering rage building within me, and I made a promise to myself. One day, Jason Carter would choke on his own words. One day, I wouldn't just wear the best sneakers in the world, I would be the best. And when that day came, Jason Carter would be the one begging me for a pair. That bullying wasn't just a passing phase, it was a crucible. Jason Carter's words didn't just fade away. They got stitched into my skin, burned into my memory like the scuff marks on my sneakers. It wasn't just him anymore, it was a constant reminder of my perceived worthlessness. After that day in the cafeteria, the jokes never stopped. Sophia the shoeless, discount kicks, Walmart queen. They'd accidentally trip over my shoes in the hallways, their laughter echoing in my ears. I told myself I didn't care, but then came the ultimate betrayal. I had one friend, Mia. We weren't inseparable or anything, but she was the only person who would sit with me at lunch, the only one who didn't laugh when Jason ran his mouth. Until the day she did. It was gym class. We were picking teams for basketball, and when it came down to me, Jason, with a sickeningly sweet voice, said, "Hey Mia, you take her. I bet her shoes have better grip than the actual ball." I waited for Mia to roll her eyes, to tell him to shut up, to defend me for once. Instead, she giggled and looked away. In that moment, I felt something crack inside me, something deep and vital. That was the day I realized no one was coming to save me. If I wanted to change my life, if I wanted to make sure Jason Carter would never, ever have the power to humiliate me again, I'd have to do it myself. So I started planning not just for revenge, not yet. First, I had to figure out how to escape the world that made me feel like I was nothing. I needed to build something better, bigger, and it started with a single, unwavering idea. I didn't wake up one day and suddenly become a sneaker mogul. I wasn't some genius who had everything figured out at 14. I got my first job at a local bodega, sweeping floors and stocking shelves for cash under the table. I stuffed every dollar into an old shoebox under my bed, a tiny monument to my future freedom. By 16, I was juggling two jobs: morning shifts at a diner, after school shifts at a sneaker store in downtown Brooklyn. That second job, that was the one that changed everything. I didn't just sell sneakers, I studied them. I studied the way people obsessed over limited drops, the frenzy in their eyes. I memorized every detail: what made a shoe valuable, what made it comfortable, what made people want it. I sketched designs in the margins of my school notebooks, fueled by an insatiable hunger for knowledge and a burning desire to succeed. Jason Carter's parents bought him everything: every new sneaker, every designer jacket, every shortcut in life. My senior year, he wasn't just some schoolyard bully. He was a social media star, flexing his wealth on Instagram. I was still that girl from the cafeteria, still invisible, but I was patient. At 18, I used my entire savings, every last cent, to move into a tiny apartment in the city. I got a partial scholarship, but living in the city was a different kind of struggle. I was working non-stop, bartending, freelancing, reselling sneakers online just to scrape by. There were nights I went to bed hungry, questioning if I was just a girl from nowhere with nothing. But then I'd remember that cafeteria, remember those laughs, remember Jason Carter, standing tall and smug under his perfect sneakers, and I'd get up the next morning, put on my worn-out kicks, and keep moving. Because this wasn't just about money anymore, it was about winning. And when I finally got there, I'd make damn sure Jason Carter knew exactly who put him in his place. By the time I was 23, I had my own sneaker brand Solo. It started small, custom designs, online only. I was hand-painting sneakers out of my tiny apartment, running on nothing but caffeine and sheer spite. But soon, it resonated with the underground sneakerhead scene. By 26, Solo wasn't just a brand. It was a movement, sustainable, high-quality sneakers that weren't just about status, but about story, about people like me, kids who grew up with nothing. By 28, I had a flagship store in Soho, partnerships with athletes, and a net worth in the millions. And that's when the universe handed me the perfect opportunity. Jason Carter's career was crumbling. The same guy who used to humiliate me over my sneakers was now begging for sneaker sponsorships. His Instagram engagement had plummeted. His parents had cut him off, forcing him to downsize from a penthouse to a tiny apartment in Queens. And he needed a lifeline. He didn't know it was me. Not yet. I had intentionally kept my identity out of the spotlight. His email landed in my inbox like a gift from fate. Hey Solo team, I love your brand and would love to collaborate. Let's discuss a potential sponsorship deal. I read that email 5 times, a slow, wicked smile spreading across my face. Then I sat back in my penthouse, yes, my penthouse, sipped my coffee, and plotted. Jason Carter was about to learn a lesson he would never forget. I drafted my response, keeping it strictly professional. Hi Jason, thanks for reaching out. We're always looking for new ambassadors. Let's set up a meeting to discuss a potential deal. Looking forward to it, Sophia right? I hit send. Then, I leaned back and whispered to myself, let's see how it feels to be judged. Jason, Soho, New York City. Jason Carter walked into my office like he still owned the world. Cocky strut, forced confidence, that same smug expression he used to wear back in middle school. The designer watch on his wrist probably cost more than my first car. The limited edition sneakers were a pathetic attempt to regain his lost clout. He had absolutely no idea who I was. Jason Carter, I said, extending my hand. Nice to finally meet you. Oblivious, he replied, Sophia right, thanks for having me. Gotta say, Solo is blowing up. I've been a fan for a while. Cute. I gestured for him to sit. So, tell me, Jason, why Solo? Why do you want to work with us? He leaned back in his chair like he belonged there. Well, I've worked with a lot of sneaker brands, but I really vibe with Solo's mission. The whole underdog to success story is inspiring. And I think my audience would love it. He didn't even realize he was talking about me. Plus, he added with a wink, I bring value. I've got over 500k followers. A collab with me would be huge for Solo. I let that sink in for a moment, and I smiled, a predatory gleam in my eye. And what about me, Jason? What do you remember about me? Confused, he tilted his head. I saw the flicker of uncertainty in his eyes, a slight shift in his posture, and I lifted my foot onto the desk. White Converse, classic style, worn down just enough to feel familiar. The same ones I wore in 7th grade. Jason's smirk faltered, and then it vanished completely. The color drained from his face, his mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. I let the silence stretch, let the realization settle. Finally, I said, still think my shoes are cheap, Jason. A bead of sweat trickled down his temple. He swallowed hard. Sophia, but, it's been years. I didn't even recognize. No, you didn't. I cut him off. But I recognized you the second you walked in. He swallowed hard. Look, about back then. I held up a hand. Let me stop you right there. You were just a dumb kid. Jason gave a weak smile. Exactly, I mean, you know how it is. Middle school was rough for everyone. I'm sure I said some things I didn't mean. But we were just kids. No hard feelings, right? He said it like an escape hatch, like he thought if he played it cool, I'd let him off the hook. No hard feelings. That's funny, Jason, because I remember feeling a lot back then. I remember the humiliation, the anger. Trying to salvage the situation, he said. Come on, Sophia, that was forever ago. You've obviously done amazing for yourself. I mean, look at this place. Desperate to change the subject, he gestured around the office. I haven't won yet, I stated. What do you mean? I pulled my phone from my desk. A video started playing. Jason, 16 years old, standing in a high school hallway, laughing with his friends, and then his own voice, crystal clear. I bet her parents dumpster dive for her shoes. I've never seen her wear anything else. Someone start a GoFund for Sophia's broke ass. I hit pause. Jason was speechless. I was a kid, he stammered. You were 18 in that last clip, I countered. Old enough to know better. Where did you even get these? He asked, desperation creeping into his voice. Call it research, Jason. You were so desperate for attention back then, you posted half of this stuff yourself. He opened his mouth to protest, but I cut him off again. You know, there's really no excuse. And I wasn't done. Now, here's the part that's tricky for you, I said, steepling my fingers. See, my company has a very strong brand. We believe in second chances. We believe in redemption. but we also believe in accountability. Jason's knee bounced nervously under the table. Sophia, listen, really. I ignored him. So, we could announce a partnership with you, get your name trending again. His eyes lit up. Yes, that's what I was thinking. This could be great for both of us. I liked the word could, didn't realize it held so much power. We could post these clips, let the world see exactly who you used to be, and let the internet decide whether they still want to follow you. Jason's face dropped. He wasn't in control anymore. He looked like he was about to be sick. His confidence, the same smug arrogance he carried since middle school, was gone. His hands gripped the armrests of his chair, knuckles white. His breath came in short, shallow gasps. I let him sit in his own fear for a moment. Then, I leaned forward, ready to twist the knife. You know, Jason, I said, tapping my nails against the desk, when you reached out, I actually considered it. I thought, maybe he's changed. Maybe he deserves a shot. His face lit up with a flicker of desperate hope. Yes, I'm not that guy anymore. I can prove it, I nodded, pretending to consider his words. And I picked up my phone, scrolled through my messages, and accidentally forwarded those videos to him. Jason's phone buzzed on the table. He hesitated before looking at the screen, a premonition of doom hanging heavy in the air. He swallowed hard. Why did you send these to me? He stammered, his voice barely a whisper. Because, Jason, I replied, my voice dripping with venomous satisfaction. I want you to post them. His head snapped up, eyes wide with disbelief. What? No, I don't want some forced PR apology. I don't want a cancel culture stunt. I met his eyes, unflinching. I want you to put these clips on your own social media. I want you to tell the world exactly who you were. And I want you to do it without blaming age or ignorance or anything else. My demand was not a request, but an order to the most helpless of slaves. Jason's mouth opened and closed, like a fish gasping for air. He was trying to come up with an excuse, a loophole, anything to get out of this. You're out of your mind, he finally choked out. But those are the terms, I stated coldly. Take accountability. Jason visibly fought with himself. I could see the war raging inside, the desperate desire to salvage his career, battling against the fear of complete and utter humiliation. If those videos went public, it was over. No sponsorships, no collaborations, no comeback. His entire career depended on me now. I'll give you 24 hours, I said, my voice devoid of emotion. If I don't see that post by tomorrow, I'll handle it myself. Jason finally looked up, his eyes filled with something I had never seen before, the raw, naked terror of losing everything. I grabbed my phone and walked towards the door, pausing just long enough to glance back at him. Oh, and Jason, I smiled, a slow, predatory grin spreading across my face. I guess now you know what it's like to have the whole world judge you by your shoes. Then, I walked out, leaving him to drown in his own downfall. Jason posted the video. It went live exactly 23 hours and 45 minutes after our meeting. He must have spent the entire night debating, pacing, trying to convince himself there was another way out. The clip started with him staring into the camera, eyes hollow, like he'd just swallowed glass. Hey everyone, he began, his voice trembling slightly. There's something I need to address. For a long time, I've presented myself as someone who supports the sneaker community. But the truth is, I wasn't always that person. Then, he played the old clips, one by one, his own voice exposing him, dragging him into the same public humiliation he used to put me through. For judging people for things they couldn't control. For hurting people for no reason. I'm holding myself accountable, he concluded, his voice barely audible. The internet exploded. His comment section was a battlefield, filled with accusations, condemnations, and the occasional, hesitant defense. Brands quietly cut ties. A few die-hard fans stuck around, but their voices were drowned out by the chorus of outrage. Meanwhile, Bully gets owned by sneaker CEO trended for days. My DMs were filled with messages from kids who had gone through the same thing, kids who had been targeted and humiliated for their clothes, their shoes, their circumstances. 1 week after the video, I got an email from Jason. The subject line, I meant it. Sophia, the email read, I know you probably don't believe me, but I meant what I said. I was a terrible person, and I get that now. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I wanted to say it anyway. I hope one day, I can be someone who actually deserves redemption. I stared at the email for a long time, a strange mix of emotions swirling within me. And then I did what I think was the right thing. I didn't reply. Some people don't deserve closure. Some apologies come too late. I wasn't looking for Jason to change. I was looking to win, and I did. I kicked my feet up on the glass coffee table in my penthouse and smiled as I looked at my sneakers, still white, still classic, still a reminder of where I came from. Yeah, they paid for my mansion. So, tell me honestly, after hearing everything, do you think I handled this situation correctly? Was I justified in seeking my revenge in this way, or should I have taken a different approach? Did Jason deserve the outcome he received? I'm genuinely curious to hear your perspectives and opinions on this whole situation. considering everything that transpired between Jason and me, and what I ultimately decided to do with the opportunity that presented itself.